Okay, so today we're starting part 2 of your rational numbers lesson, and in this lesson we are only adding. So I want you to kind of put away the multiplication and division thoughts because that's not anywhere in this lesson. We're only focusing on adding and subtracting. All right, so just as kind of a recap of what we started on Friday. Now it's kind of been a long weekend, right? So you're like, okay, Friday, what did we learn on Friday? Well, here's just a quick recap. All right, the additive inverse, remember, that just means the opposite, okay? So the additive inverse of -5 would be 5. The additive inverse of 3 would be -3, okay? So the commutative property can be very helpful to us, and you'll see that in a few minutes, where we can actually group our positives and negatives together. So we can rearrange the numbers to make it easier to solve. All right, so our integer rules apply. We learned a nice little song, and we're going to sing it this morning, bright and early. Okay, not yet though. Same sign. We add the absolute values and keep the common sign. Different signs, we subtract the absolute values and take the sign of the larger number. Now remember, the fraction and decimal rules that apply here are only for addition and subtraction. So when you add or subtract fractions, you must have a common denominator. You guys remember that from last year? You have to have a common denominator. When you add or subtract decimals, you must line up your decimals. So that's the part that should be a review. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on adding and subtracting fractions and decimals. Okay, so if you remember the song, sing it with me. All right, here we go. Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. Take the sign of the larger number, then you'll be exact. One more time. Everybody, same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. Take the sign of the larger number, then you'll be exact. All right, so if two numbers have the same sign, we add them and keep the common sign. We did this on Friday, okay? The what sign is it? All right, that every number has a sign, and the sign is actually in front of that number. So what I need you guys to kind of train yourselves to think is that we know that 10 is negative, okay? But 6 is also negative because it has the subtraction sign in front of it. So if I were to ask you, -10 minus 6, is that same sign or different? Same, because they are both negative, okay? So I would add them. What's 10 plus 6? 16. And then I would keep my common sign. -16. Okay? All right, now on my next one, 15 minus 18. Now on Friday, we did the positive, negative, and all that. Okay? 15 minus 18, is that now same sign or different? Same sign or different? That is different. 15 was positive and 18 was negative. So different signs subtract the absolute values. What is 18 minus 15? 3. And why would you say -3?
Because you're taking the sign of the larger number.
Take the sign of the larger number, 18, and then you'll be exact. All right, any takers on the last one? What 4 minus 12 would be? What do you think 4 minus 12 would be, Sebastian?
-8.
Okay, why would you say -8 instead of +8? Very good. Very good. 12 is the bigger number, and it's negative. All right, so we're just going to keep practicing some of that. Now, on this slide, you kind of see a lot of numbers and signs, right? It can kind of make you dizzy. Okay, but what we want to start to do is we don't want to see two signs stacked together. Do you see how there's two signs back to back with no number in between? We don't like seeing that. In chapter 1, your book starts off that way, But in chapter 3, they quickly eliminate the double signs and expect you to know that 10 plus negative 4, okay, plus a negative is the same thing as just subtracting it, okay? So plus a negative is the same thing as just saying minus. So instead of the plus negative, we can just say minus, okay? It gets rid of some of that clutter, okay? All right, so let's practice. How would I write 6 plus negative 3? How could I write that? I want you to write it in the blank. How could I write 6 plus negative 3? We're just practicing right now. We're not even solving anything. Macy? Okay, we're not solving yet. How would you rewrite it? Instead of plus negative, very good. It would just be 6 minus 3. And then she went ahead and solved it. Okay? All right. I want you to try the same thing on the other side. Okay? We see how 15 plus negative 5 is the same thing as 15 minus 5. How would you rewrite negative 12 plus negative 5? How would you rewrite that? Any takers? Anybody want to try that one? Nathaniel? Not minus negative 5, but just what, guys? Minus 5, which is, I think, what you meant. Negative 12 minus 5. So when you say minus, that means that 5 is negative, okay? So we just have to kind of train our brains to think that way. That when it's minus 5, that means that 5 is negative. So let me ask you this. Negative 12 minus 5, is that same sign or different? Same sign or different? What do you guys think? It's same sign. They're both negative, so what would I do? Add and keep. So my answer would be negative 17. Okay, so again, we're not necessarily solving here, but that's the process. Now you need to learn another double sign. Now this one is going to change your answer. If you don't catch a double negative, you actually will not get the answer correct. Do you see how the first one says 5 minus negative 6 with no number in between the two negatives? Do you guys see that? So when we see a double negative, meaning a negative and then parentheses and another negative, the double negative changes to a positive. Okay? It's almost like they collide and change into a positive. Okay? It's like a crash collision. Sure. Yeah, they combine, and then because they bump into each other, one of them turns vertical and turns into a plus sign. Okay? All right. Collision course. Okay? So that becomes 5 plus 6. So you must change the double negative first so you can then figure out, is it same sign or different? Okay? All right, so let's try the one below it. 14 minus negative 2. How could you rewrite that? 14 minus negative 2. Anybody? Reese? 14 plus 2. Very good. And then we could pretty easily solve that, right? What's 14 plus 2? 16. All right. Very good. Okay, so now let's come over to the next one. We see 10 minus negative 10 is the same thing as 10 plus 10. All right, so I want you to try the next one down. It says negative 5 minus negative 4. I want you to rewrite that expression without the double negative. All right, anybody want to try that one? Julia, did you get that one? What'd you get?
Negative 5 plus 4.
All right, she said negative 5 plus 4. Do you guys agree? All right, would this be same sign or different? Different. So what is my rule when they're different signs? Subtract them. What's 5 minus 4? 1. And take the sign of the larger number. So negative 1. Are you guys kind of noticing a common pattern here with our rules? By the end of the lesson, you're going to be like, have you said that like 25 times already? Like, we get it, hopefully. Okay, that's the goal. All right. Okay, so here we go. Adding integers. We see that some of these have double signs. Okay, I want to get in the habit of rewriting it with only one sign. Okay, so that's why we did the slide just before this. All right, so could y'all say this first one with me? How could I rewrite negative 4 plus negative 2? I could just say negative 4 minus 2. Plus a negative is the same thing as just subtracting it. Okay, now I need to ask myself, do I have same sign or different? Okay, well, 4 is negative and 2 is negative. The subtraction sign in front of the 2 means I'm taking it away. That is negative. Is that starting to maybe make a little more sense? So when I look at this, I see 2 negatives in front of each number, 1 in front of each. So same sign, add and keep, negative 6. Okay? I want to jump over to the next one over. I don't know what order it's in your notes, if it's the same order. All right, I want you to rewrite it without the double sign and then try to solve it on your own. All right. Anybody want to volunteer for that one? Lily? Uh-huh. Did you say negative 5 minus 10? All right, very good. So she said plus and negative is the same thing as subtracting. That would make them both same sign, and it's negative 15. Very good. All right. I want you to go ahead and take about 2 minutes. I'm going to pause the video real quick. I'm recording this lesson for you guys. So I just want you to take about 2 minutes to solve these other 4 problems. Okay, all right, so I'm going to kind of rewrite some of these. Did you say 5 minus 10? Now, this is the one that some people still get tripped up on if they're having trouble realizing the subtraction sign means 10 is negative. Is this same sign or different? Different signs. So what did you do? Subtract 10 minus 5. And take the sign of the larger number. Okay, that one was a little tricky. Did you guys get it? Just kind of nod, yes or no. Did you get it? Okay, if you're messing up, that's okay. All right, this has got to be a safe place for you guys to make mistakes. 8 plus negative 4. Did you write 8 minus 4? Okay, don't be tripped up by this. It's 8 minus 4, guys. Just what's 8 minus 4? 4. But we know that our rule still applies here, right? That 8 is positive and it was the bigger number, so my answer is positive 4. But don't overthink the rules. Did anybody kind of overthink the rules on that and not realize, well, that's just 8 minus 4? Okay, that's a good thing and a bad thing, all right? We're just trying to get our minds zoned into the rules, okay? So that's not necessarily a bad thing. All right, negative 3 plus 7. What do you guys think? Same sign or different? Different. So subtract 7 minus 3 is 4. And would your answer be positive or negative? Positive. How do you know it's positive? Yes, because the bigger number is positive. All right, negative 15 plus 8. Same sign or different? Different. And so I subtract and take negative 7. How'd you guys do on that? Like 1 thumb up, 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down? All right, give me some thumbs. How are we doing? Okay. Was that like so-so? Okay. All right. Questions? Stop me whenever you need to. All right, so now we bring fractions into the mix. Okay, so we have these positive, negative rules, same sign and different sign. With fractions, what did we say we always have to make sure we have? A common denominator, all right? We got to have that common denominator. If we don't have it, then we need to get one, okay? All right, so look at the first, and don't worry about the signs while we're finding LCD. Oh, by the way, the LCDs will be very basic. We're not going crazy with common denominators here. All right, we're really trying to practice positives and negatives with fractions, if that makes sense. So this isn't necessarily a lesson on fractions. Okay, so that's something that you're coming into 7th grade having already learned. All right, so what do you think would be my LCD for the first set of fractions? What would be my LCD, my common denominator? Y'all tell me. What would it be? Okay, so yes, were y'all thinking 6? If you didn't say 6, okay. So does the second fraction have to change at all? No, it does not. The first fraction, what would I multiply top and bottom by to get to my LCD? 2, very good. Okay, so now let's rewrite our fractions and remember to keep the original sign of the fraction. So do you see how 8 over 3 was negative? Was it negative? So I want to keep it negative. Negative 16 over 6. Does everybody see how I got 16 over 6? I did my multiplication. Okay, how are we doing with this? We doing okay? All right, so now I'm going to add 5 over 6. Let me ask you this. My rules for combining fractions. Do I add my common denominators together to make 12? No, I bring over my common denominator. The sign is always attached to the numerator. So this is negative 16 plus 5. So here come the rules again. Is this same sign or different? Different. So what do? Subtract and take, what do you think? Negative 11 over 6. And you can leave it improper. You can leave it improper. Okay? Now, with adding fractions, all right, this is where I start to feel a little bit torn. Because technically when you're adding, it's not going to matter. When you're subtracting, it's a different ball game, okay? Do you remember in elementary when you would subtract fractions and you had to borrow from the whole? Do you guys remember that? You would subtract fractions, have to borrow from the whole. That gets very confusing when you have positive and negative fractions, okay? If you could just trust me on that, it gets very confusing. Okay, with positives and negatives. So the way that I like to show you is and with multiplication, by the way, you have to change it to improper. So when you see a mixed number, I like to just, as much as I can, have the same rule so you don't have to remember a bunch of different rules. When you see a mixed number, change it to an improper fraction. Okay? All right, so here we go. 1 times 8 would be what? 8 plus 3 would be what? 11. Does everybody see how I got negative 11 over 3 as an improper fraction? Okay. Now I'm going to bring down my other fraction. Am I ready to add them together? No, I'm not. Why not, guys?
Because it doesn't have common
No
denominator.
LCD. All right, so I'm going to leave you to this one. What do you think you need to multiply each fraction by to get to your LCD? Okay, and then I want you to write your new fractions. When you write your new fractions, bring over the original sign in front of the fraction. Okay, I'm going to give you just a minute to figure out what your new values would be. Sorry, yeah, that was just a typo. All right, my bad. It's an 8. That makes the LCD easier. Do you even need to multiply the first fraction by anything? My bad. Sorry, guys. It's early. All right. Okay, so what would you multiply the second fraction by? 2 over 2, okay? So negative 11 over 8 plus 10 over 8. All right, so bring over my common denominator. And what's negative 11 plus 10? What do you think?
-1.
All right, I'm not going to do the same sign, different sign. I want you to think it in your head. Okay, so I hear a -1. Another possibility, if this was multiple choice, I would tell you a -21. Would that be the correct answer? Did I do that math right? No, because it's different signs. So subtract them. 11 minus 10 is 1. Julia, how did you know your answer would be -1?
Because the negative 11 over 8 is larger.
Yeah, 11 is the larger absolute value versus 10. Okay. All right, a little breath of fresh air up here. Do I need an LCD on the top one? No, I do not. Okay, so all I have to do now is worry about this double sign there. Does anybody remember what plus a negative means? Just subtraction. So you can rewrite it. -1/2 minus 3 over 2. That helps you clearly see, is this same sign or different? It is same sign. Add and keep. -4 over 2. Ooh, but can I reduce that more? -2 over 1. Okay. All right. Now the last one gets a little tricky. Okay. Because typically when I see a whole number added with a fraction, especially multiplied, I could just do that real quick. But I do need to remember that I need a common denominator. So 4 can be placed over what number? 1. Plus a negative can change to a subtraction. 4 over 1 minus 7 over 2. Can I subtract them?
No.
Can I? No. What do I need to multiply top and bottom by? 2. Very good. So now I have 8 over 2 minus 7 over 2, and I get 1/2. All right? Now, is it going to be positive or negative? What do you think? What do you think, guys? Be confident in your answer. 8 minus 7 is 1. Positive 1. Now, probably when you looked at this one up here, maybe you could tell that 7 over 2 was 3.5 and 4 minus 3.5 would be 1/2. I'm not saying that this is the only way, okay? But I try as much as possible to make it the same for all of you guys. So again, you're not trying to learn different rules. Does that make sense? Okay? All right. How do we do on fractions? All right. Now here we have decimals. What's the most important thing when I'm adding decimals? Line up the decimals. Line them up. Okay? I've got to line up my decimals. And here I see these stinking double signs again. All right? So what I want you to realize, okay? I want you to rewrite it first. All right? Let's rewrite it first. Negative 0.75 minus 1.5. Okay? This is a very important part. All right, because you have to do this by hand. There's no calculators in this unit. Will you add the decimals together or subtract them from each other? Okay, I'm hearing a lot of adds. Why do I need to add their absolute values? Same sign. Okay, good. You're getting it. You say, but I saw a subtraction. I'm supposed to be subtracting them. Technically, yes, but you've got to remember, same sign, add and keep, okay? So just come over here to your next step, and I like to add and subtract vertically with decimals. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
Okay, so when I'm adding, it technically doesn't matter which one goes on top. When I'm subtracting, it does. So maybe I should start with that. That's okay. Either way will work. All right, so 0.5. And I am going to add these plus 1.50. Okay, because remember, same sign, add and keep. So I need to add their absolute values together. This addition will not be difficult. So I better get it right. Okay, this addition will not be difficult because, again, I'm not testing you on adding decimals. You've already learned that. I'm throwing in the negatives into the mix in this lesson. So it's a matter of practicing the positives and negatives more than can you add a decimal. All right, here's the kicker. Is this answer positive or negative?
Negative.
It is negative. Same sign, add and keep the common signs between the two. So keep your negative. All right? Did that throw you a little bit? Okay, that's okay if it did. All right, let's go to the next one down. Negative 3.3 plus negative 2.7. All right, so what are you thinking when you first look at this problem? Someone raise your hand and tell me what's going through your head when you first look at this problem. Samantha?
Do the same sign because it's the plus and the minus you're subtracting.
Okay, so I'm subtracting, and then she even went one step farther, and she said, this means it's same sign. Do you agree, Lucas? What do you think? Mariana, do you see how that would be same sign because they're both negative? Okay, so same sign, what do? Add and keep. All right, let's see who can get to their answer. We're going to pause here for just about 30 seconds. All right, Macy, what'd you get? You got a question? Okay, so 2.7. She carried. I got 6. Why would she say negative 6?
Because you're keeping the common sign.
You're keeping the common sign. Did you guys catch it on that one? If you didn't catch it on the first one, did you keep the common sign and make your answer negative 6? Did you make your answer negative 6? Okay, how's your notes looking? Looking okay? All right, different sign, subtract. Is this same sign or different? It is different. So this is where the order is going to matter. If you tell me this is different signs and you need to subtract, you must put the larger absolute value on top. 5.35 minus 4.00. You say, well, Ms. Kinder, I saw the plus sign here. Yeah. So that means different signs subtract and take. So we'll take the sign at the end. All right, so let's subtract their absolute values, 5, 3, and 1, and bring down my decimal. Now, most important question, because on this unit, I cannot give you credit for your answer unless you get the sign right. Because again, I'm not testing you to see if you can subtract a decimal. I'm testing you to see if you can apply your positive negative rules. Is your answer positive or negative? All right, look at the original numbers. Different signs subtract. Take the sign of the larger number. Which one was larger? 5.35. Then you'll be exact. Do you see why your answer is negative? The absolute value. So you're only looking at the absolute value to see which number is bigger. Okay, so Julia was thinking, well, 4 is bigger than negative 5.25 or 35. But remember, you're only looking at the number part. Okay, all right, so I'm going to cut you loose on this next one. And let's see who can get start to finish to the correct answer. All right, 1.65 minus 0.90. Again, you have to put the greater absolute value on top because you have to subtract these. 1.65 was positive, 0.9 was negative. So you have 5, have to borrow the 1. 16 minus 9 is 7. All right, and is my answer positive or negative? Why is my answer positive? Tell me. Yes, 1.65 was larger. All right, how are we doing? How are we doing? A little progress check. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I hate math today. Okay, maybe somewhere in the middle. All right, doing okay. All right, good job. All right, so here's where the commutative property can really help us. Now we're going to see multiple numbers, okay, more than 2 being added and subtracted. Do you guys remember what I talked about with the additive inverse? Do you guys remember what the additive inverse meant? The opposite of any number. So, oh my goodness, I see negative 12 plus 15, so that's different sign, subtract and take, and then that same sign on the end. But before I do any of that, why not use commutative property here to see if I see any opposites that could be combined? Negative 12 plus 15 plus 12. What if I used the commutative property to say negative 12 plus 12 plus 15? Did I keep all of the original signs in front of each number? I kept 12, the first 12 negative, the second 12 positive. But now what's negative 12 plus 12? 0. So what's my answer without having to do any math at all? 15. All right, look in the next one. You see something else happening there? What do you see that are additive inverses? Do you see the 4.5s? Commutative property says you can combine these in any order as long as you keep the original sign in front of the number. So now, without having to do any math, what is my answer? Negative 6.21. Remember, guys, the sign in front of the number has to be brought over with the number. Okay? Oh my goodness, I got to get LCDs on my last one. Do I need LCDs? So before you go through all the hassle of finding LCDs, what's the first thing when you see more than 2 in an expression? What's the first thing you're going to look for? Commutative property, additive inverses. All right. Do you see any here? Any additive inverses? 5/8 and negative 5/8. All right. And what's your answer? 1/5. Do you remember on Friday when I told you number properties make your life easier? Would you agree with me now? You'd have to go through all that pain of finding an LCD if you missed that. All right, wrapping it up. The list shows 4 account transactions. Find the change in the account balance. One thing I want you to practice here is commutative property. You do not have to write down these numbers in the order that you see them. So what numbers do you think would be more easily combined? What do you think? How would you arrange these? I want you to arrange them. And honestly, guys, all of you might have different ways that you arrange them. And that's okay. All right? You might do it differently than me, but we can still come up with the same answer. All right? So what I like to do is first I look for additive inverses. Do I have any additive inverses? Do I? Okay. So yeah, I could group my negatives and positives together, but man, first of all, I'm canceling out those inverses. Did you guys catch that? Now all you're left with is negative 40 plus 75. Is this same sign or different? Different. So what do? Subtract and take. Positive or negative? 35. Why is your answer positive? Because the bigger number, 75, was positive. All right. Okay. We are running low on time because I want to get started on your big ideas homework. We are going to save that supply check for tomorrow. So if you could now go ahead and open up your big ideas if you have a phone or a tablet or a computer. If not, I will give you a paper copy for now until we get our Google Classroom, what am I looking for? The Chromebooks, which I should be getting any day. What now?
So, like, if I don't have it, can I still turn in the paper copy?
Yes, yeah, I will accept paper. No. I will accept paper copies until we have Chromebooks. Once we have Chromebooks, everything has to be turned in through Big Ideas. And I will say too, with the paper copy, you really do need to still put your answers in Big Ideas like after class. Okay? So that's the plan for now. All right, that's everything for this lesson.